So today we're going to be looking at sustainability and thinking about what this means and how this is affecting our planet and what we can do to help. So we're going to be finding out what sustainability means so that we can understand the effect and the importance that this is having on climate change and global warming, and you're going to be thinking about how we can help our planet this way as well. So I'd like you to write retrieval, and I want you to write me a little power paragraph to tell me what is the difference between renewable and non-renewable energy resources. And when you're writing this, please can you also give some examples? You might explain some of your examples when you're explaining it as well. Then once you have finished that, if you can press pause and play on the screen, and then we can look at the next part of our learning. So sustainability, what do you think this word means? So pause the video now, have a think, what do you think it might mean to be sustainable? And then press play once you've had a think. Okay, sustainability means it's ensuring that the planet and all of its resources can continue to be used. So it's keeping things that we use now, being able to use them for humans, for plants, for animals in the future as well. So it's our job to take care of the planet to ensure that future generations, 100 years from now or thousands of years from now, that people and animals in future generations are able to still live and thrive on the earth. Now what thrive means is growing or developing well, so being able to continue to grow, continue to be as successful. So why is it important to be sustainable? So problems arise when we don't look after the resources we have, and will increasingly arise if we fail to ensure there are not enough resources for future generations. Now the problems that will arise are things like a loss of animal homes and natural environments, because if we continue to keep cutting down trees, if we continue to keep ruining animals' homes and habitats, then obviously the animals will start to become endangered and eventually extinct. Climate change, that's obviously where, because we're burning so many non-renewable energy resources such as coal and gas and oil, that's obviously leading to energy and heat rising and not being able to get out of our greenhouse gas effect, because obviously they're getting stuck in the ozone layer, and that's causing the temperatures to rise. And because of this is leading to melting of polar caps and ice to really melt and lead to those rising sea levels, which is causing two problems: the fact that the ice is melting, so animals such as polar bears haven't got their habitats anymore, and also the sea levels rising, which is causing problems elsewhere around the planet and to other sea life as well. Increasing pollution, so not only if we're burning more, it's affecting the land, it's also things when we're throwing things away, it's affecting the sea, so there's lots of different types of pollution there. So renewable resources. A resource that is renewable comes from a source that can continue to replenish itself, continue to keep making itself. So for example, wood, paper and leather, okay, these are renewable because we can keep planting new trees, and if we cut down trees we can plant new trees, and it's a continuous cycle, so we're able to continue to use wood and paper because we're planting more trees. However, non-renewable resources are things that can't be replenished, they can't make themselves happen again, and these are things that are only available, and once it's used there'll be none left. So some things like these are things like petrol, some things like diesel, coal, and what natural gas, so what we burn to either keep our cars running, keep our houses warm, and keep the flames going. Now sustainability, it's our job to make the choices and the products we use to decide why we use them, where we use them and where they come from. Because being a sustainable society means we need to make smart choices about the products we use, the lifestyles we live and how we can preserve non-renewable resources for generations to come. So here is an example of a picture. I want you to just pause the video now and think about what is this girl doing here and why do you think this is being sustainable, and then press play. Okay, so from looking at the scale, we can see that she's throwing something away, looking like something like paper, and the sign underneath is like a recycling sign, which we're going to go on to next. So she's obviously recycling her paper in the bin. So, types of sustainable resources. So last time we were looking at renewable versus non-renewable energy resources, and we found that something that was more sustainable, a way of releasing some energy, was through solar panels. So this is where it's taking in, harnessing that the heat and the sun rays and the light in order to make it into power, to turn it into electricity. We also had the wind energy, which converted the wind, which turned the turbines, which turned it into mechanical power and produced some electricity as well. We had the hydropower, so using the force of the water to turn the turbines and the waves to make the electricity as well. And we had bioenergy as well, which were materials from natural sources that can be used also to generate electricity. So the 3 R's, so these are one way that we can be really sustainable. So reduce, reuse and recycle. So I just want you to pause the video now and then press play after you've had a think about what do we mean by reduce, what do we mean by reuse and what do we mean by recycle. Okay, so as well as using renewable resources, we can also be more sustainable by doing this reduce, reuse and recycle method. And we can look at the products that we can look at these. So we can reduce the amount of this product that we use. So if we're using lots and lots of this product, we can think about how we can either use a different product or think about how much of that product we can use to reduce it and make us use a small amount of it. We can reuse this product in another way. So instead of throwing it away, we can actually use it again for building, for making things, or for any other way that we can use this product. And we can obviously recycle the parts as well to put them into different recycling bins, which can be then used and taken to specific places where they can either be used for a different purpose or they can be put in a specific place. And that's what this sign means. So the 3 arrows are showing the 3 R's, saying that if we reduce, reuse and recycle, we can continue using them again and again and again and use them for different purposes. Okay, so looking at these examples, I want you to think of what does this show? So how can we be more sustainable? So I want you to pause the video now and think about what these people are doing and how this is being more sustainable. And then press play once you have thought of them. Okay, so the first one, recycling our rubbish, putting it in the recycling bin so that it can go, if it's a glass bin, that these glass can be taken away and broken down and reused. We've also got putting your food scraps in the garden as compost. So actually using, instead of throwing the food in the bin, you can actually put it in as compost, which you can then obviously feed your plants in the garden with. You could also, a lot of people, if say you've got vegetables left over, you could also turn it into things like soup and reuse it in that sense. And finally, you can walk to the park rather than taking the car. So rather than burning those non-renewable resources and you burning those petrol to release those bad gases for our planet, you could walk to the park instead. Okay, I want you to think about these ones this time. What do these 3 show here? How are these being more sustainable? Pause the video, have a think, and then let's play and see what you've got. Okay, so the first one is switching off appliances at the wall that are not being used. So obviously if you switch appliances off, it saves energy, you're not having to use the electricity as much, so obviously it's not using as much of that. For your clothing, you can donate old clothes and toys to a charity so that other people can reuse them rather than just throwing them in the bin. Or grow your own vegetables in your backyard. So instead of going to the supermarkets or instead of depending on other places, you can grow your own vegetables to eat in the back garden. Okay, so let's have a look at these ones here. So how can we be more sustainable at school? So we could walk or ride to school one day in a week instead of taking the car. Things like turning the lights off when we are in the classroom or when no one's in the classroom. Have a book swap to trade your books with your friends so that you're not destroying books and you're able to reuse the books. And finally, collecting the scraps from lunches and putting those either in the compost or making it into something else. Okay, so your task for the rest of this lesson is that I'd like you to produce an information, either a leaflet, a poster. It could be that you present it on PowerPoint, you could present it as if you're a newsreader, you can present it however you would like. And what I would like you to do is I would like you to produce something that is showing how people can be more sustainable both at home and both at school as well. So obviously there's lots of ideas from the PowerPoint that you'll have seen. You might come up with your own ideas or have thought of some other ideas how you have either reduced, reused or recycled products to become more sustainable. So once you have completed this, please can you put your work on Seesaw, and then I can obviously have a look at this and give you some feedback as well.